Gabriel Benitez versus Justin Jaynes. We got minus 185 for Gabriel, and we got plus 160 on Jaynes. Let's start off with the Qatar hero, Justin Jaynes. So I did cash on him or against him last time around when he fought Gavin Tucker back in August, and that was a relatively quick turnaround for him after making his UFC debut after knocking out Frank Camacho within 41 seconds. And outside of a first round knockout, I don't really know what he brings to the table. He seems to be a generic power puncher that likes to throw winging shots and not much else. Gas tank is a little bit suspect too, but I kind of chalk it up to him trying to finish Gavin Tucker in that first round after dropping him with a beautiful uppercut. It did drop him. It did follow up with a couple shots, and Tucker did a good job of kind of stifling the damage that was coming his way. However, Tucker managed to survive that, and then in the second round, really start to take over, really start to dig his kicks into the body of Justin Jaynes, and really start to suck the wind and the cardio out of Jaynes. So it's a combination of, I think, a suspect gas tank from Justin Jaynes as well as the body work from Gavin Tucker, which eventually led to him rocking him in that second round and in the third round, and then following up with a beautiful rear naked choke. Beautiful win for Gavin Tucker there. I won't lie, had me sweating a little bit because the worst case scenario did come to fruition in terms of Justin Jaynes knocking down Gavin Tucker in that first round. However, we saw the resiliency of Tucker to fight through that, pretty much throw up a submission attempt right after getting dropped. So we saw that he was still somewhat in it. But that's pretty much Justin Jaynes' game, in my opinion. Like, I don't really see much else that he brings to the table. Once he fights a guy that has, a much more technical game and more than just punches, I think he falls into trouble. And this is a perfect matchup for Gabriel Benitez to get back onto the winning track here. So last time he hit around, he took not a short notice fight, but a fight up at lightweight against Omar Morales, where he ate the biggest shots from Morales and was still sticking around, landing his own good shots and landing massive leg kicks in that fight too. That seems to be something very, very important in Benitez's game, is establishing that leg kick. And he fights from a southpaw stance, so he's digging into the inner thigh of the lead leg of his opponents more often than not. I like what we see from Gabriel Benitez, and it's weird to me to think that the guy's only 32 years old, considering that he's been in the UFC since Tough Latin America 1, which was way back in 2014. He didn't end up winning that show, but he did make it into the big stage, and since then, he's put up a, 2, 4, 5, 5-4 record within the UFC. His losses, Andre Fili, Enrique Barzola, Sodiq Yusuff, and Omar Morales. So not really the worst losses in the world there. And the fact that he was able to go out there and sling leather for 3 rounds with a guy a weight class higher and throws with a hell of, very, very bad intentions like Omar Morales gives me really good feelings going into this fight against Justin Jaynes. Obviously, the fight before that, he got knocked out by Sodiq Yusuff, who, in my opinion, is a much more technical striker and was waiting for the perfect opportunity to counter Gabriel Benitez and land a perfect bomb of his own, following up with some ground and pound of his own. However, I think the very limited path to victory for Justin Jaynes here makes this a really good spot for Gabriel Benitez. I think him chewing up the lead leg of Justin Jaynes and even bringing that leg not just to the thigh, but to the calf and also to the body as well of Justin Jaynes. I think if he works on that, sticks on the outside as much as possible, tries to do his best to avoid the big shots of Justin Jaynes, I think he'll have a really good shot of outpointing and possibly finishing Jaynes late. I think this is a solid spot for another potential third round finish prop, something that I like to hit quite often. And I think this is a perfect spot given the questionable cardio of Justin Jaynes. Now, a lot of people want to say that Justin Jaynes has the path to victory of taking this fight to the ground. However, I think he's going to gas himself out too much if he goes out there and tries to do that round after round. I believe by round and a half in, we'll see the speed and the cardio advantage of Gabriel Benitez really start to take over. And I think he's a really good spot here. Like, I really like him in this spot. In terms of metrics, we're talking 5'7", 67.5-inch reach for Justin Jaynes, and we got a 5'8", 71-inch reach for Gabriel Benitez. So a slight reach advantage, a 1-inch height advantage for Benitez, and a much more technical and slicker striker, at least in my opinion, for Gabriel Benitez here. So I love him in this spot. I think he had when you have guys that have such narrow paths to victory like Justin Jaynes, the other spot is almost an auto bet. We did see the line open in Justin Jaynes' favor, which was absolute insanity. Minus 155 is what the line opened at for Justin Jaynes, and then we've seen steady buyback now, and Gabriel Benitez all the way up to minus 185. I wish I did tape this a little bit sooner so I could get that better line. However, I could even price Benitez all the way up to minus 250 in this spot. I give him a 75% chance of winning, which even says minus 300. But I'm hoping that people will buy into the knockout power of Justin Jaynes and see, okay, we saw Benitez knocked out only 2 fights ago, but what they're overlooking is, Sadiq Youssef, much, much more technical striker than Justin Jaynes, and will do a better, or won't do as good of a job as Sadiq did to find that opening. So I like Benitez here. I think he's a really good spot, a really, really confident spot on my end. And I'll be looking to play him very, very shortly. So, I do like Gabriel Benitez to win this fight, probably by third round TKO. I think his leg kicks are going to add up, which really start to slow down Jaynes, and then we see him follow up with some punches and get that finish in the third round. So once again, I'm going with Gabriel Benitez to win this fight via KO in the third round.